Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back. I'm David Glenn with davidglennrecording.com and the Pro Audio Files. We're in the mixed template series, and we're on video number 5 now. We're looking at the instrument tracks. So if you haven't seen videos 1 through 4, we've covered the master fader and utility plugins. We've looked at mix bus and bus processing. We've taken a look at the drums, the bass and low end, and now we're at the instrument. So I'm going to go ahead and we're going to import some stuff. Actually, before we do that, let's get over some of the logistics. If you go to the home site, davidglennrecording.com, losing my mind here, I've got a banner on the homepage for the mixed template series. If you click that, I'm going to give you free downloads of my mixed template in both my full version and a stock plugins version. And then we'll have multiple DAWs available, if not right now. Very soon, we're going to have a lot of DAWs covered, your Logic and Studio One and Cubase, etc. So definitely go check those out, and then head on over to the Facebook page, facebook.com/DavidGlennRecording. I'm going to be doing live Q&A and hosting some exclusive videos over there as well. So we're going to move on. We're going to take a look at these tracks. I'm going to just import the quick and dirty way. I've got some set up here. Just going to pull in. We've got a song we're mixing at the Mix Academy this month. So we'll drag these in, take a quick look at that. And I've pulled this open because we've got some synths, some art bass, some pads. We've got acoustic guitars, electric guitars, all kinds of stuff. And this is the only step in my workflow where I don't have a series of tracks already created. I used to, but I felt like I spent more time renaming all the tracks to get them to look good and feel like I had something somewhat organized than I did actually mixing. And so I felt like, let me just drag these in from now on. And that's worked better for me. So basically, I get all the music tracks in, dropped in just below the bass level, and I'll group them, just call it music, and I'll drop all their faders down to -20 or so. I like to start with all of my faders in a mix down to -20. And then I will go ahead and route. If I've got a bunch of acoustic guitars, I may have an acoustic guitars bus. If I have a bunch of electrics, I may have a rhythm guitar bus, a lead guitar bus. It just depends on how many tracks and how they're organized. But the basics of it is once all the tracks are organized, I'm going to send them to the all music bus. Excuse me. So we go Option Shift Bus, and I'm going to come up here and select all music. And if you remember in I think it was the second video, we talked about the bus processing. If we come down here, you can see all music. And we've got our processing here. We've already talked about that, but basically, I just want you to see that's where we're sending them. So we'll scroll back up. We'll take a look, and we've got some panning to do. Obviously, that's when I would start my rough mix, get the drums up, the vocals, the bass, get all the levels in, pick the panning positions, and all that kind of stuff. However, there's one more step for these tracks here. The first thing I'm going to do is hold Option Shift in Pro Tools, and I'm going to add a channel strip. Really straightforward. If you've got VMR, I'm going to show you that in a second. The computer taking a minute here. It's been running pretty good for me. Let's see, I used to do this. If I go in here to Steven Slate Digital, there we go, and I load VMR. This is a great workflow. What I used to do, and I still have this set up, is I have a template in here pretty similar to just throwing an SSL channel strip on there. If you have the waves, throw the SSL from waves on there. But you may dig this, the virtual channel, starting with the console emulation, and then having these in but not on, not active. You got an exciter, an EQ, compressor, and the trim tool. And now, even with Slate, it's been a minute since I've loaded my template up like this, but you've got the gate, and you have the monster, man, you got all kinds of stuff from here. The de-esser, so you can use this on vocals. Pretty much just showing you that you have other options. So you guys out there with the everything bundle, the Slate is a great way. Set up this, come in here and save a default template. If you come in here, once you save a template, you go to set as user default right there. And then in your settings preferences, you have to set it to set plugin default to the user setting. And once you do that, if I were to then click on all of these, Option Shift click, go down here again to Slate Digital and load VMR. VMR is going to load on every single one of these tracks with that standard channel strip setup, or whichever plugins you have that you prefer to have in a row there. And that's that. It'll actually do that for the mono tracks, and then you have to find a stereo track and do the same thing. But basic layout of the tracks, I just go to a channel strip. For me, it's an SSL, and I'm rocking and rolling. I may, depending upon how I'm feeling, usually pretty lazy at this point, I like to just get to the music and get to mixing. I may hold Option Shift and go through and set up my synths to delays, set up my synths to some modulation effects, and set up synths to the reverb, so that they're there as I start to push up faders and mix. I have a quick click instead of having to click and drag, go over and find them. If I go ahead and I put those in from the beginning, it's just one less thing I have to do whenever I'm flowing and I'm getting creative. I have that option to be able to do that. There's a couple other things I wanted to mention. Let me make sure. That's right. Okay, so the other thing, I should have mentioned this first. Sometimes I start with a tape emulation or console emulation, or both. So I may start with the console and then have a tape emulation. Just depends on the tune. It, again, depends on my mood and what I'm feeling. But you may want to go ahead and create that and select it from the beginning. So similar to how I have the virtual channel set up, I would select that and maybe use Slate VMR from the beginning here, because we don't have these active. The virtual channel is. Maybe that goes first, and then the SSL. It just really depends on my mood, what I'm going for. But you have that option as well. The other thing was to show the routing, the busing, the management of tracks, and I pretty much explained that from the get-go. So again, if you have a bunch of synths or a bunch of acoustic guitars, I would select those, break them apart. Let's say these were all acoustics. I may select them and then come over here, Option Shift, and bus to a new track and set that up from the beginning. So before I start my rough mix, I may get it all organized, get it cleaned up. But from there, we're ready to go. So music tracks, maybe not the most exciting video. Very straightforward, just to get a channel strip in there. I got the high and low pass filter, got an EQ, got a compressor. I mentioned in the, I think it was a drums video about the one knob compressor. You can see my default setting with the SSL channel is to load with the dynamic section in, and if I want compression on a music track, I will typically click that, and I have a one knob compressor here by cranking the threshold down, setting it at its fastest release, the fastest attack. You've got this ratio knob becomes your one knob compressor, and you can push that up until you see 6 dBs of compression, and it could be really great. And then you could tweak the taste, slowly attack, change the release, time it. But for me, that's a great little trick. Shout out again to Kevin Ward over at Mix Coach. Did a video that was way better than my janky little explanation right there. But that's a great way to get rocking with some compression and not having to stress too much about the settings. And those are the music tracks. Very straightforward. And we're going to go ahead and move on to the next video. We're going to talk about vocals. We're going to pull in some lead vocals, some background vocals. I'll show you a basic setup and then walk you through my templates, what I'm looking at with each of those tracks, the processing, and then we're going to look at one of the more, I would say, important videos of this whole series after the vocals is going to be looking at the effect synths, and we're going to show you some demonstrations and do a little bit of, we'll have some fun. Anyways, we'll move on to that next video, and we'll see you guys there.